All right, final segment, the second hour of the show. And I'm joined here with Josh Reeves, and we're talking about the Council for National Policy, the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, the Vatican, the phony-controlled opposition within the Patriot movement. A lot of interesting topics tonight. And, Josh, just real quick, I wanted to finish up on the Knights of Malta, and then I wanted to get into the Reverend Moon. But on the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, one of the things I find really fascinating about this group is that they're sovereign. It's in their name, Sovereign Military Order of Malta, and that they're essentially a militia force for the Vatican. That's essentially what this group is, and you look back in their history, and it ties back to the Crusades. They were essentially the Knights Hospitaller, and then they transformed themselves over the various centuries to become the Knights of Malta. And I just find it very fascinating that this is this small organization of people that is considered to be this sovereign order. And you have the EU that recognizes them as a sovereign order. The UN recognizes them as a sovereign order. And I find that very fascinating. And I think, as you've mentioned in your research, is that this allows these people to operate anywhere in the world without fear of prosecution because they are a sovereign military force. So, Josh, if I get your thoughts on that, and then we'll segue into the Reverend Moon.
Yeah, most definitely there is. He has had, this group. I mean, I tell you, they're the modern day Templars. That's the thing. We'll get, and that gets into some of the deeper information, and that's what I plan to do with Volume 2. In Volume 2 of The Secret Right that we'll be working on over the next few months and trying to get out. That's real quick. I want to say a big thank you to everybody that was involved in the project of making this film. Yourself, Lee, being the executive producer and helping me buying the footage. Lee Rogers paid for all the footage that we bought from the news archives for this. He also paid for me to get a new monitor, new video card, which enabled me to make the film look as good as it did. If it hadn't been able to, still it's not some big $500,000 film project or anything, but still I was really happy with the thoughts that it came out with. And also our listeners, we had a lot of great support in donations and contributions from listeners that were involved. And it's just, to me, Lee, a real testament of what people who want to make a difference can do and don't have to have leaders or movements to do it. Just a bunch of people that just say, hey, I believe in this. I want to do something. I believe in you. And I want to put up some money to do this so we can make a difference. And I'm telling you what, we are already starting to see this film have an effect before it's even gotten out to a lot of people. And we're going to see it have even more of an effect. And so I just wanted to give those accolades real quick and tell everybody that really this film to me represents a testament of what people can do, Lee, when they just want to make a difference,
Absolutely. You're 100% correct. And, none of this would be possible without everybody listening to this show and supporting the network. And, we have a few advertisers on the network, and that helps pays the bills. But look, this is a nonprofit organization. All the money we get coming into this, it goes right back into the operation. Nobody is getting rich off this at all. We're not making a dime off this. All the money that comes in goes back into making this a better network and enable us to put out more information, films, improve the reach and the scope of the network. So a big thank you to everybody out there. But Josh, I'll give you the floor on the Knights of Malta and the Reverend Moon.
Well, the Knights of Malta have their own sovereign, their headquarters is its own sovereign nation. If you or I or anybody were attempting to say, okay, let's organize a revolt against the Knights of Malta, Lee, they can call on any military in the world, because if you declare an attack on them, it's considered an act of war against a sovereign nation. And there's actually only one other group that has that same sort of status, and that is none other than the Rothschild family. Their home is its own sovereign nation, and the same thing can happen there if you try to invade their property. It's an act of war, and they can call on any military in the world to come and deal with you. That's the whole thing is that the Sovereign Military Order of Malta had basically became the Knights of Malta after the Templars were banished, and they got the information from the Templars that they had excavated from Solomon's Temple. And so this is really where the formation of the priest class based on secret knowledge, and then also with people that were involved in being warmongers came from. Let me go through a quick list of some of the known members we have of the Knights of Malta. We have Samuel Alito. We have Silvio Berlusconi, Tony Blair, Michael Bloomberg. We have Pat Buchanan. And they mentioned, we have a clip in there in the film of Pat Buchanan where they admit openly in ABC News he was Jesuit trained. They taught him how to think. William F. Buckley, George Herbert Walker Bush, George W. Bush, Jeb Bush, Prescott Bush, Frank Capra, William Casey, Michael Chertoff, Bill Clinton, Wild Bill Donovan, Allen Dulles, Avery Dulles, Archbishop Edward Egan. Who else do we have? I'm going through Rudy Giuliani, J. Peter Grace, General Alexander Haig, Otto von Habsburg, William Randolph Hearst, Baron Conrad Hilton, of course, the grandfather of Paris Hilton, Knights of Malta. Surprise, surprise there. No wonder she's a media darling. How much money can you buy to get distraction like her? Well, that's a good question. Richard Holbrook, who is funny, these guys that make these films on the Bilderberg Group never mention that Richard Holbrook, the Bilderberg Group member, is Knights of Malta. Could be why they have these people on his show.
Well, also, Josh, if I can interrupt real quick.
Sure.
Wasn't there a member of the Knights of Malta that actually had a key role in forming the Bilderberg Group? And I can't remember their name offhand, but there was this one guy that I know was they were instrumental in helping form the Bilderberg Group member, or the Bilderberg Group. I can't remember who exactly it was. Do you know who this was?
Yeah, I do, off the top of my head.
Medinger? Was it Medinger?
It was Joseph Redinger. Is exactly
okay, yeah. It was on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, but I'm sorry. Please continue.
No, it's okay. Let me go back up here to the list real quick. I want to get through this list real quick in the time that we have here. Where did I leave off? J. Edgar Cross-Dressing Hoover, of course, was a member. Lynn Horowitz. There's Lynn Horowitz. Daniel Imperiato, who I believe is an actor. Lee Iacocca. Francis L. Kellogg, Joseph Kennedy, Ted Kennedy, Henry Kissinger, Louis Larriman, Henry Luch, Nelson Mandela, oh my goodness, Rupert Murdoch, Tip O'Neill, Oliver North, George Pataki, let's see, I'm scanning, Augusto Pinochet, Nelson Rockefeller, David Rockefeller, Rick Santorum, Phyllis Schlafly, Joseph Edward Smith from Blackwater, Frank Shakespeare, Clay Shaw, who was indicted in the Kennedy assassination, William Edward Simon Jr., the chairman of the board, baby, Frank Sinatra, Cardinal Francis Spellman, Fritz Thiessen, Thomas Van Essen, Amschel Mayer de Rothschild,
yes,
and Robert Zellick. And that's just a quick list over some of the people that we know confirmed. But this is why, think about that, folks. That's a pretty heavy list of people that have been involved at the highest levels of what we would consider to be the New World Order throughout the years. And how come it is that none of these people have ever been brought to justice? That's because they never can be. And this is why you had Oliver North on the cover of Time magazine, and it was quoted during the Iran-Contra hearings as saying, I was authorized to do everything I did, because he was authorized to do everything he did. And that's why that whole trial was a whitewash, because it was there to keep people from ever finding out who was really pulling the strings. And that is and the Reverend Sun Myung Moon was pulling the strings on the whole Contra thing. But this guy, nobody really knows. He's such an enigma. And a lot of people know that Jesus Christ was called the Prince of Peace. The Reverend Sun Myung Moon has elevated himself to the degree of the King of Peace. And he was coronated and declared the Messiah. And he has this thing he calls a spirit world device, which he claims is a machine that allows him to communicate in the spirit world. He claims that he has talked to people like Andrew Jackson and Thomas Jefferson and Hitler and Stalin and all these people, and they said that he is indeed the Messiah, and they support him from the grave. I mean, it just goes on and on, but we'll talk more about Moon on the other side of the break, Lee.
All right, sounds good. And yeah, you know what, Josh? Maybe we should just believe him. Maybe he's right.
Yeah, maybe he is. Yeah. Maybe he'll give us some money. We believe he's the Messiah. I don't know. Hell.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that Ragnarok spirit machine or whatever it is that he's hiding in his basement. All right, these people are just crazy. Look, I mean, this stuff, I just can't begin to describe how insane these people are. I mean, we're dealing with just some crazy lunatics. It's amazing. But on the other side, we'll finish up with the Reverend Moon and much, much more. Third hour coming up, folks. Stay with us.